This content does not take into account your investment needs or personal circumstances. It is not intended to be viewed as investment or financial advice. For more financial information, please visit milfordasset.com/getting advice.
Kia ora and welcome to Laugh My Assets Off, a show about what to do with your money, because it turns out stuffing your cash in an envelope and chucking it between your mattresses might not be the best idea. This is the first episode and it's Investing 101. It's sort of like a university course, except it's completely free, and instead of a whole semester, it's just going to last 20 minutes. And joining me are two people who went to university about money. I don't know how to be more specific about what you did at university, but they're going to give their 2 cents about your dollars. It's Caitlin Parker and Liam Robertson. How are you both doing?
Good, thanks.
Good, mate. Thank you.
Well, I'm very excited to have you here, not just as the host, but also as almost a viewer myself, because I know almost nothing about what I should be doing with my money. So let's kick it off. It's Investing 101. Caitlin, what is investing?
Look, there's a lot of meanings of investing, but in the finance world, it essentially means putting your money to work in something that you expect is going to generate a return or a profit or an income stream, or even better, both.
So we're used to just working for money, but also our money can work as well.
Exactly. If you're smart with it, your money can do a lot of work for you. So in the future, you don't have to work as hard.
Wow. I'm imagining in my mind a little Kate Shepherd to work with a little Emma Hillary. Liam as well, what would you say is investing? How would you define it?
Yeah, I'd define investing as putting some money into something like a good or an asset. It could be property, it could be shares or bonds. It could even be something rare that a lot of people want, but there's not many of those things out there. I'm sure we'll get into it later on. But really what you're hoping is that the thing that you buy will either provide you with an income, or it will increase in value over the long term, or it will do both.
Actually, there's a guy I see at the gym who's always telling everyone else at the gym about how he's working full-time in crypto. Like, Bitcoin is all he's doing. Is Bitcoin a good investment?
It's not a bad investment, right? There's many things that you can invest in, and everything has its place, but you really want to understand what you're investing in, because you buy into something, it goes great for a few days, you think you're a genius, but then things take a turn and you just don't know what to do. And if you ask yourself, what did I actually buy, and you don't know, I wouldn't invest my money in anything that I don't actually understand.
Yeah, because I definitely know some people who bought NFTs and I think still could not today tell me what the NFT is.
No, but they'll probably tell you how much it's worth and how much they've made on the good days, but not how much it's gone down on the bad days.
Well, I don't think those weird ape photos are doing very well these days. So I've noticed, in terms of investing, in terms of something that's going up in value, that milk is just going up and up and up at the supermarket. So if I bought some and held on to that for a few years, do you reckon that could get me a bit of cash?
Probably turn into yogurt if you held it for a few years. To Caitlin's point, you probably want to be investing in something that you understand. If you know heaps about milk commodities and how the milk price changes and things like that, potentially, but you're probably better off starting off somewhere a bit more mainstream.
Okay.
Or you could, if you have a real positive view on milk, you could invest in a company that benefits from milk appreciating as well. So there's lots of ways to think about it, when it comes to a good idea that you have in your head. It's, just kind of think outside the box about that. Yeah. Or outside the curtain. Oh, that was so bad.
Outside the curtain, that's good. That's really good.
I'm cringing
we should swap places.
Please, it's my better side.
One of the investments that I feel like is talked about a lot, especially in Aotearoa, is property. I own a house. It's the first big purchase that I've ever really made in my life. We bought it last year. Is that an investment? Is it the right thing to be investing my money in?
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Property as a whole is an investment, right? And it's a real asset. It's a physical asset. You can touch it. You can see it right there in front of you. If you bought an investment property and, you're renting it out, getting that income in, that, yes, is an investment in every sense of the word. But your residential home, yes and no, right? Because you're buying that to live in it. So the sole purpose isn't just to make money off that house. You're getting a benefit from it. You're putting money into it. You're making it look nice. So, in that sense of the word, no. However, New Zealanders in particular, and the property market has been very good to a lot of people, buying their first home, getting up the ladder. So when you're buying that house, did you think about, in 5 years' time, will this house be worth more? Did you think about, is the location going to hold its value? Is this house going to hold its value? What can I add to this house to make more money in the future? Or did you just buy it?
I thought, is it pretty? And it is. And I thought, is this near nice cafes? And it was. And that was kind of the decision-making process.
Well, to be honest, 9 times out of 10, that will still help you and hold. But I think if you are wanting to make a return out of your first house, you do need to be smart about it. And it's very, very hard because you just want to get on the ladder. You just want to buy the house, stop paying someone else's mortgage off, buy a rental property.
Yeah.
But, it is worthwhile thinking about, is this location going to be desirable? School zones, how can I add value to this house? If it's not your forever home, just make smart decisions. Don't go and spend all your money on one piece of art. Maybe spend some money on making the garden more usable or, updating the floors that they will look good. But yes and no, essentially.
True. The garden does look quite nice. Apparently it was on Maggie Barry's garden show back in the day.
That's a flex.
Yeah, pretty big flex.
Yeah.
It's got a little water fountain in it. But also I flooded the kitchen, so we haven't made it prettier, we've made it worse. All the wood expanded, and it's actually, I probably shouldn't go into it. People do kind of seem to debate the merits of like property versus shares, like which is the better place to put your money. What do you think?
It's an age-old debate, particularly in New Zealand, because property has done so well, and I think for perhaps the more seasoned investors out there, a lot of them bear scars from the crash in the share market in the late 80s. And so there's something quite nice about bricks and mortar. You can drive past it, you can see it, you can touch it. Whereas with shares and other sort of, non-tangible financial assets, things you can't actually touch and see, if they depreciate in value, it can feel like they've perhaps gone into a bit of a black hole and all is lost. I think when you're making an investing decision, rather than saying what's best or what's worst, it's not really a black and white answer. It's more you have to ask yourself questions about what's my goal, what's my time frame, what's my risk tolerance, am I too concentrated in one particular area? You got to think average house price in Auckland is probably $1 million, so that's a lot of money to have in one asset. For example, if there's a fire or an earthquake or whatever, all your money's in one spot. Shares allow you to diversify a lot more, and that might be beneficial to you as you grow your portfolio.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from you guys is that a lot of Kiwis, and I'm included in this, put all their eggs in that property basket. But we shouldn't put all of our eggs in the one basket. We should be popping them around town like a little Easter egg hunt. It's a weird metaphor, isn't it? Because I feel like if you put all your eggs in one basket, you'll remember exactly where they are.
Yeah, but also if you put all your eggs in one basket and one of them cracks, it will ruin all the rest of them.
That's true. And then you have egg running everywhere. And that is exactly what would happen if the property market crashed. That's an egg cracking.
Well, you're right. Yeah, exactly. The property market is the egg, right? So.
Yeah. Wow. I love it.
Insightful.
I'm actually hungry. Liam, I know you're the advice guy. My advice guy, I guess, for me financially has been my mum. And the one piece of advice that she's given me is any chance you have, anytime you get some extra bonus money, just chuck it on the mortgage. Like, that is her advice. Always start hacking down at that mortgage. Is that actually the best thing to be doing?
Look, it's not bad advice, to be honest. Paying off the mortgage or repaying any kind of debt is going to make your future life easier, and your future self will be a bit happier, because the less debt you have, the more money that you earn, you can actually spend and enjoy on other things. When it comes to debt repayment, and really what you're asking yourself is this money I'm putting on debt, am I using it in its best way, i.e. Could I make more from it elsewhere? So a couple of years ago, when interest rates were really low here in New Zealand, a lot of people had mortgages at sort of 2 or 3%. They might have said, well, actually, I could probably put this into something like the share market where I might make 8, 9, 10% over the long term. So it's actually better for me to put extra money into the share market because it's going to earn more than my mortgage actually costs me. Now it's a bit more of a tricky question, because a lot of people are feeling the pain as they refix their mortgages, and they're often getting a mortgage starting with a 7. And so you sort of think, well, every dollar I pay off the mortgage is essentially a 7% risk-free return, because it's not costing me that 7% anymore.
Yeah. So
it's a bit of a quid pro quo. You've got to weigh up the pros and cons. But certainly paying off your mortgage, it's something you want to have done at some stage. You don't want to get to retirement and live off the pension and have to pay a mortgage. So I think your mum's sort of put you on the right track there.
Okay, let's talk about some terminology, because there's a lot of fancy words. Let me list some of them for you. Stocks, shares, bonds, liquidity, equity. What do all these words mean? Do I need to know what they mean?
You should know what they mean, just for your KiwiSaver, and Liam can go on to that. But stocks and shares are essentially the same thing. So you own a share of a company, you own a slice of the ownership in that company. So the company does well, you do well. You know, company's making a profit, you do well, the share price goes up. Company's not doing well, your share price goes down. You're not doing so well with your investment. So shares are probably the easiest to understand in terms of the investment terminology. Bonds are essentially loans to government or corporate. So you're essentially loaning money to someone, and they agree to pay you an interest rate over the term, and then at the end you get your money back.
Is that why they call the underwear bonds, because it's the more stable?
I mean, I haven't tried them out myself, but
They last a long time.
if they're better, then
I think I'm wearing some right now. Let's move on to liquidity.
liquidity is, and this is a good one when we talk about the property market. Now, your property isn't very liquid, and what we mean is how quickly can you turn your investment into money without affecting the value of it. So shares and bonds are considered a lot more liquid than property. So your physical assets take longer to go and sell. You know, you have a house, it's a huge investment, whereas you want to sell one share or one bond, it's a lot more liquid. You can get that cash a lot quicker.
What about dividends? What's that?
So we spoke about bonds, and they make interest payments to you. So those are contractual. So, you know, you're guaranteed to get those interest payments twice a year. And if something happens that the company defaults, you rank a lot higher than someone who owns the shares. Some companies, the way that they return value to shareholders, and it's usually your more stable ones that, you know, they're not going to skyrocket with the share price, but the way that they're going to entice investors to invest in them is by paying them a dividend. So it's essentially like an interest payment, but they're not 100% obliged to pay it. If the company's not doing well, you mightn't get it. If the company is doing well, this is one way that you might benefit from the company's profits.
Nice. So it's like a little reward, a little treat for saying thanks for investing.
Exactly. A nice little bonus every so often, but I wouldn't be, you know, banking on getting that amount of money. It's not going to be the exact same amount of money the whole time. They can switch them off. So yeah, I wouldn't be pre-allocating that money every year.
But if it comes through, get yourself a little treat.
Yeah. Get a new water fountain for the garden.
Yeah, I need more. One's not enough. Okay, let's use a theoretical situation. Let's say a tooth whitening company gets in contact with me. They say, Eli, we want you to do an Instagram post. We'll give you $2,000. And I'm available to any tooth whitening companies. But that is like bonus money. It's on top of my regular income. I've got it out of nowhere. Is $2,000 enough to start investing? Like, should I start investing that money, or should I just buy the new iPhone because the camera's slightly better?
Absolutely, it's enough to start investing. In the early days, you know, sort of 10, 20 years ago, you did need quite a large sum of money to get investing. You needed your own broker. So there's quite a high barrier to entry. But now with the sort of implementation of things like Sharesies, Hatch, etc., you can actually get onto the share market for, you know, as little as $5. So $2,000 is actually, you know, quite a significant amount to get started with. I would recommend that you get some advice though before you take that plunge. Perhaps watching the show could help you as well.
Yeah, I think being on this show is hopefully going to help me. I basically, the one time I've invested in something, I got some Sharesies. My whole flat, before Paddy Gower on Weed aired the very first time, we all decided to buy shares in Canna South. And so I did that back in whenever that was, 2018 or 2019, before the documentary aired. And the other company that I invested in was in New Zealand. And this was, of course, pre-pandemic. So basically, just picked two companies to invest in. I put in $500. There we go now. It is worth $112. It's gone down. I've had a 71.47% negative return and lost $361.73.
How often do you check that?
I would say not very often.
Well, that's good.
Recently.
That's good, right? Do you think that you spread your eggs enough?
I really put my eggs in one basket that was really relying on a sort of a referendum that came very close but didn't come through. Yeah.
And also, you know, it doesn't matter how much money it is, whatever the dollar value is, you put 50% into two companies. 50% is a very, very big bet, okay?
Yeah.
But then also, you've only been invested for a few years. You need to think more long term. So forget about the past, right? Forget about what's happened. You've already suffered that. There's no going back. These things have happened. You need to look forward and not back. I know it's hard, and it kind of hurts your confidence a bit when you see, big numbers down.
Yeah, when you see a graph that goes like this.
Yeah. It's really about looking forward now as well. And I think that probably taught you as well that, just say you had 30 companies in that portfolio. If one of them goes down that much, it's actually not going to have as much of an impact in your overall portfolio.
True. I think I thought I was being so smart at the time. I think I was like, I don't want to trust someone else to pick the companies for me or to manage the companies for me. I want to pick the one thing that's going to be a good bet.
If it was that easy, I wouldn't have a job. So my job is to day in, day out, analyse companies, decide, to invest, to buy, sell, maintain. So if it was easy to write comedy, everyone would be a comedian as well. People have jobs for a reason and there's specialised fields. Yes, you could make a good bet, you could do well. If that referendum came through, you could have...
Could be a different story.
Sure could.
I might not be on this couch.
Yeah.
Riding high. Okay, let's talk about investing myths. What are some common investing myths? I know, of course, obviously you shouldn't invest 20 minutes after eating. Actually, no, maybe that's swimming, potentially, actually.
I mean, it's probably both.
Yeah, look, I think one of the myths, which we sort of just touched on, is that you need to have a lot of money to get started. It's absolutely not the case. And as I said, you can get started for as little as $5. Another one that I hear quite often is that if you do invest, you have to invest for a certain amount of time, your money's locked in. We also touched on that markets are very liquid. That's a term that we've discussed. And so if you need your money out at short notice, then often you can do. Whereas if you've got money invested in something like a property, you can't sell the bathroom or the lounge if you need cash in a hurry. So in fact, investing is actually... it's a very easy way to get your money out if you need to. Another one is that you need to use a professional to get invested. You need to have a broker, someone like that. You don't. Always think that you should get some help or some guidance, but you can just set up an account by yourself and get started. So I think that the bar to entry has never been lower than it is right now in New Zealand to get investing.
Another myth that I've heard is that you really need to be an expert. You really need to know everything about what you're doing to do it.
Yeah, look, that's what I get from a lot of friends. And also a lot of females that are like, oh, don't understand it. Females are proven to be a lot more cautious than males and really assess, decisions before they actually get involved with them. But it's just like anything. If I don't understand what I'm doing, I outsource. So you can get involved, you can buy units in a fund and leave it to the experts, you know what I mean? So let someone else do their hard work for you. There's a reason that people have jobs in that space. You don't need to be an expert. You can, have a bit of fun with a portion of your money if that's what you're into, but, outsource anything that's not with your capability.
I do wonder sometimes, I'm like, can this just wait until my 40s? Which is 20 years away. I'm 20 years old. What do you think?
I think the sooner you start, the better. I'll caveat that with saying it's never too late to get started, but there's a thing that we call compound interest or compounding returns, and that is that where any investment you make, any profit or income that it returns, if you reinvest that, then it will start to generate its own returns, and it's a bit like a snowball. So, the earlier you start the snowball rolling down the hill, the more time it has to pick up snow, so to speak, and the larger that snowball gets. And
eventually it can take out a whole town.
Well, you could own the whole town. You could buy it if you invest for long enough. And there's a really common piece of research out there. It's a bit of a rule of thumb. That if you were to have a newborn child today, so niece or nephew or your own, if you put $2,000 in an account for them on the day they're born and you left it in the market, regardless of timing, so don't worry about the ups and downs, you just leave it, let it do its thing, it'll be about $1 million when they retire. That's compounding. So the earlier, the better.
Wow. $2,000 becomes $1 million.
Yep.
Wow.
65 years, on average. On average.
65 years is a while, I guess.
Yeah.
It is, but you're only going to realise when you're 65, 66 that you've screwed up if you start too late.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're not thinking about it now. It's kind of like this money, you're not able to access it now because you've already used it for your first home. So it's locked away. So You need to really invest in 66-year-old Eli right now.
Yeah, need to start getting into model trains. I think that's what I'm going to be into when I'm 66.
Neat.
Invest my money and then I can turn my whole basement into a model train.
Exactly.
That's a part of me is already living that life in my head. I'll get there.
Whatever floats your boat, but it's thought that only 20% of people can actually practice delayed gratification. The rest of us just want to enjoy the here and now, which of course is important.
Yeah.
You need to enjoy yourself on the way through. But it actually is very difficult to put some money away that you can't enjoy now. You know, you've worked hard for it, you've earned it, you've been paid it. It's hard for us and it's against our nature to put it away for 66-year-old Eli and his train set.
It's literally like leaving a couple of chips at the end of dinner.
That's
so
right.
that you know you can finish with the thing that you want to finish with.
Yeah.
It is. But have you ever done something that you're like, my future self will thank me?
Yeah, a little bit. When I was young, me and my sisters all used to, you know how you get your one big Easter egg and you got some little ones, we'd all try and make our big egg last the longest. So just eat like the tiniest little chip of the egg. And whoever's egg was the last one in the fridge was like, wow, you won Easter. Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, Liam. I feel like we've started scratching the surface, but there's so much more to talk about, including things like KiwiSaver and improving your barbecue chat about investments. So stay with us on Laugh My Assets Off, because there's more assets to be laughed off.